All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and there is Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. What a Monday we have. Beautiful day here in Toronto. Lots of action. We can't wait for it. Good to see you guys.
I'm happy to be here. I'm lucky to be here. I deserve some type of Masterton nomination for even appearing on this show today after the absolute hell that I've just endured. I had a root canal go off the highway and sideways on me, and thankfully I righted the ship, and I'm going to contribute a few hours of my time today. Okay. But some big items to get into, Hazy B.
Yes.
Some big items.
Absolutely
but
massive.
Before I get off this program, I have to detail, before I go off the airlines or airwaves at 6, I'll detail the worst day of my life on Saturday. And you can weigh in on.
Okay. The worst day of your life. I'm guessing it's tooth related in some capacity if you're laying the framework for a botched root canal.
Let me put some framework and see if you can piece this together and anticipate the story. Tooth problems in the bathroom stall for an hour and a half.
Whoa.
Possible ambulance call. And melting your shorts.
Okay.
Quite a tease.
All of that in a day.
Step aside Vladdy. Step aside Vladdy. Step aside Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah. So just to prep for the story, I was in a bathroom stall and almost called the ambulance on Saturday. So just prep for that.
Okay.
At just before 6.
Jonas? Do you have any response to that?
I have so many questions.
So do I.
We have to start that story.
Can we just block off the 5 o'clock hour?
5:30. 5:30, we've got an opening, and we will hear all about the tooth, the stall, the ambulance, everything at 5:30. And I have a feeling anything we say about Vladdy today, Ovechkin, the Maple Leafs, the Masters, will be secondary. We'll absolutely not be able to keep up with whatever we're about to go through at 5:30. So there's a tease for you in about 90 minutes. All right? 90 minutes. I can already picture this.
Dude, don't make me laugh. My face hurts, and I can't. But
I'll try not to.
Reliving, just even like thinking of that ambulance wheeling in there to grab me. Hayes, you're aware of it. So I 5:30, we'll get into it.
All right, at 5:30. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice here because I can already picture people that download the podcast. They are fast forwarding right through everything.
Oh, stop.
We should have some sort of announcement. Please don't fast forward this on YouTube, on podcast, on .ca, wherever you happen to pick it up after the show is posted. Anyway, this is big, man. This is a big one for us because I guess, are we waiting for Vladdy to go through a physical before he plays a game tonight?
How does a guy that's already on the team, like playing games, go through a physical?
I don't know.
What are they just going to make sure that he's okay to get the 500 sheets? I got to tell you, Hayes, I don't want to just dump on this, but I wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't have handed that guy $500 million. I don't know. There's just something about him. I think that kid in Kansas City is a young star that you can kind of wrap your team around and build something towards.
And I believe they've signed him to a long-term deal, too.
You should see how much less. I think it's like less than half.
Yeah, it's like $250 or something. They got out in front of that one. I mean, Junior's getting paid in Kansas City.
Exactly what Bobby Witt Jr., they did with him.
Yes. Yeah, they did. They learned from what other teams showed you, right? Like Atlanta did that with Ronald Acuna Jr. Now Acuna's had a lot of injury problems, but when he's healthy, unbelievable. Get out in front of it. I would say the Padres and Fernando Tatis. Remember at that time though, that was $314 million or something.
Yeah.
And they were the laughing stock of the league. How could you possibly pay a guy that kind of money? Listen, 500. It's crazy money. You can't wrap your head around $500 million. Like he's immediately the highest paid athlete in the history of the city, and nobody is even close. Like Scotty Barnes is kind of close. Scotty's signed for like $250, but the NBA is just crazy. But the idea that this guy is going to be within the organization for 25 years is really, I think, the story here. Because in order for it to pay off on both sides, for the owner and for the fans, for the owner, I think you got you got to get to 2035 and look back on the previous decade, because anytime you sign a long-term deal, he's not giving you bang for your buck when he's 39 years old. That's not going to happen. Neither is Soto in New York, Judge, Mike Trout in L.A.
None of them will probably even be around for those
Exactly.
years.
There's a chance he's just gone. They're paying him, and he's not even around. You need a decade. You need, I think, between today and 2035, the end of the 2035 season, if he is a top 10 player over the next decade, then he's going to give you bang for your buck. It's going. You could justify it one way or the other, but that's what they have laid out. We believe he's going to be the 10 best offensive players in Major League Baseball. One of the 10
and
best
Hayes,
bats.
you think he is going to do that?
I think he can do that. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee it.
Do you think he is going to do that? Do you think Shapiro and Atkins, who both had a difficult time with the question when they were both asked, do you think Vladdy is a generational talent?
Yeah.
And they were hemming and hawing and bumbling over their words, and they were like, no, God, no.
I don't think these guys led the charge on this at all. This is the owner that made this play.
Ownership probably
this is the owner
looking
that
at,
made the play.
Yeah, looking at fan blowback.
Yes.
Probably looking at attendance from those first couple series saying, we got to put somebody in this roster to keep people going in there. And they probably told him to give him the money. I think is asinine, man.
Well, listen, I credit the owner because that's what the big dogs do in baseball. Steve Cohen looks at $500 million and he's embarrassed by that number. Like, Cohen pays it. The Dodgers pay it. And I get it. Vladdy's not Shohei. He's not Judge. He's not Soto. He's not Soto. He's not. He's a step below those guys, but he's very young. He's still in his prime, and I think he can give you a decade of being a top 10 bat. I do think he can do that. And I think he has to for the owner to say this made sense in retrospect, because you're paying him a fortune, but this is a guy that wants to play every single day. He does play every single day. He bought into Toronto. I know you can scoff at look what they gave him to do it, but there have been a lot of players in the history of this city who have said, I love it here, love it here, love it here, and they're gone.
Yeah, but hey, it's like you offer anyone $500 million, they're going to be like...
But he could have gotten it somewhere else. Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. Like, I know you can look at it glass half empty. Well, you had to pay him that much to keep him. You're right, you did, and ultimately they gave it to him. But maybe if he got $500 to go to Boston and he leaves, then what happens? What if he goes to the Dodgers? What if he goes to the Mets or the Yankees and they give him that money? They had to step up and say, we can pay. And you have to with this guy. I've been saying this for the last year. I get what you're saying, he's a first baseman. Eventually he'll be a DH. He's still relatively young in terms of his leadership qualities. He hasn't won anything. Hasn't won an MVP. He hasn't had big moments in the playoffs.
Is he going to keep himself in shape?
All of these things are legitimate questions, but he's the homegrown guy that is their superstar that wanted to stay. If you can't keep that guy for $300 million, $400 million, $500 million, you might as well pack up shop and say we're the Tampa Bay Rays. We are going to completely
let me just interrupt
you.
Under your philosophy, you better just sign Mitch Marner right now and give him whatever he wants if you're going to take
very
that approach.
Different when it comes to salary caps. It's a hard salary cap in hockey. It's not in baseball. It's apples and oranges in terms of the way you approach it. And I hear what you're saying, but the Leafs also don't have the same problem that the Blue Jays do. The Leafs are a larger than life original six monster hockey market. The Blue Jays, they're not that. They don't have the same history.
My question for you is, actually I have multiple questions. Jerry's percentage on what you're talking about. Mini Jerry's.
That
he's going to be a top 10 player
in 2035. We'll look
for the
back
next decade.
On the last decade, I'll say
10%.
No, I'll say 65%.
65%.
Well,
really?
Two of the last 4 years, that's what he's been.
He's been a top 10 player?
Yeah, offensively, absolutely. Like, if you want to bring pitchers, if you want to bring defense into it,
I'm talking Mini Jerry's.
Step in the box and hit. He's been 2 of the last 4 years. He's been one of the 10 best hitters in baseball. Like, that's indisputable in terms of the seasons he put forward. He's got to do that 5 or 6 times in the next 10 years in order to qualify for what I'm talking about. It's a big ask. I'm not guaranteeing anything. But at some point you got to put up or shut up. The Jays did that with Vladdy.
I'm going to up mine to 25% that he's a top 10 player in 2035.
No,
I don't know. There's
over
just
the
something
course
about
of the
him.
decade.
Yeah, looking back on it.
I kind of lean with yeah.
Okay.
And I guess here's my other question for you, and this is a bigger question. To what end is all of this? Like, you mentioned him specifically. What does the next decade look like for the team?
Well, this is where, there's a few
because I look at the
things
next 5 years, and I don't know where it's going.
Yeah, and listen, the timing is strange. They just got swept in New York. They're 5-5. He hasn't hit a home run yet. He doesn't look overly comfortable. Like it's strange timing. I think if you could go back 3 weeks and get it done, they should have gotten it done 3 weeks ago. They chose not to. Again, I think the owner got involved. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Vladdy got involved and said, hey, I don't like this. If they're going to give me $500, get it, and I'm signing it. But this is where the fans come in on the money. If the team goes south and the owner decides I'm not going to continue to spend because Vladdy took all the money, that's when it becomes an issue. Like if the argument is in 2 or 3 years, we stink, I don't want to go and spend more money, Vladdy's got all the money, go talk to him, then that's when you start to really discuss what the dollar amount means in terms of team building and in terms of what the owner's going to do here. But I think this is the ownership saying, and it better be saying, we have to be committed to spend and trying to win. Like you can't pay a guy $500 million and then say, I'm cool with 65 wins every year. Mm-hmm. You have to commit. Like you've got to keep going. And this, I think, should be a sign that there'll be a top 5 or 10 payroll in baseball. They got to sign the right guys. Their farm system still has to be a big priority. Bingo. And it has not been, and it's not good enough.
Are they set up to actually contend in the next 5 years?
He's got 15 the answer is no.
The answer is no.
The next 5 years is no.
So then, like, he's going to be 31, and then they're going to contend? And then
okay, a couple things on that. And listen, I haven't been pom-pom waving Mr. Blue Jay here. I don't know why I'm being attacked here to represent the team.
We're just asking questions. We're not attacking.
Okay, I'll give you my answers on them, and you guys feel free to answer whichever way you choose. They're a 5-5 club. I think at best they're like a third wild card team this year. It's still reasonable that they can get there. This isn't an awful team. This isn't Oakland or Chicago, the White Sox. They're not awful.
How many games did they win last year? 74?
They won 74 games.
Okay.
Yeah. And the year before they won 87, and they've added players. Okay. Like Santander, like Bo, Vladdy, and Santander have not hit a home run. Yep. Any of them, and they're 5-5. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to commit to spending money, then you can continue to add every offseason like they did this year. You're going to have to win trades. Things are going to have to break your way. The farm system's got to get exponentially better. There's no denying that. But that doesn't have to take 5 years for all of that to patch together. Like we've been talking about the Washington Capitals constantly. Look what they did on the fly. Picked up Strome, picked up Chikrin, went out and got Sandin, and now all of a sudden look where they are. Ovi's 39. No one sat there 5 years ago and said Ovi's, or a lot of people probably did, Ovi's dead, the window's closed, they're never going to end up doing anything in terms of wins and losses. Look where they are. They've got to start getting wins in the offseason. They've got to start filtering guys through the system. A lot of things have to be better than the way it's been operated for a couple of years.
Why is that?
But Vladdy's 25 years old.
But hang on. But why is that suddenly going to happen? Like these people running.
Well, do you think Shapiro and Atkins are here for life?
They've been here 10 years.
Okay.
Why is the
10
farm
years
suddenly
and then all of a sudden
like,
they're going to replenish everything?
Do they have a better chance of winning with or without Vladdy?
Win what?
Win games, which is what you're asking. Be a competitive baseball team.
Okay, but so you can win 85 and like be out in the first.
So what would you prefer to do? Let him walk and do what?
Trade him.
What is your plan?
Would be the thing I would.
And you trust these guys to make the trade?
Huh?
You trust these guys to make the trade? You said that you don't.
But you're just telling me they're going to rebuild the team.
No, they're not rebuilding from scratch.
No, but like our point is, in the next 5 years, what is going to make this team a World Series type team?
Obviously, there's got to be improvements made to the club. Like, do you want me to run down everything?
Bryan Shapiro right here.
No, I'm not. No, you guys are saying just what? I don't understand what your point is. Don't sign him. Let him walk in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair.
Okay. So what's your point?
Let me just say this: if the agent and Vladdy's plan was put the team in a position where they feel like they have to do all they have to do is sign you, that's the only option. They played it perfectly.
Yes, they did.
Because it takes some stones to do that. Because I don't know what the original offers were, but if the agent said to the client, "Just be patient here. You're going to put this team in a position where they're going to come to the table and say, let's get this done." That's played beautifully.
Brilliant.
And you can only just hope that it's off his mind now and he can go out and play and start putting out some numbers, because that hasn't happened. But if that was their original plan, to just stand pat and say they're going to come to our number or come to an area that we want them to, that's played perfectly.
100%.
Without even performing.
100%. Like Vladdy didn't give anything to the team other than his services for life, which is a big commitment. But they didn't win a thing on this negotiation. It's the third largest contract in MLB history.
And I think the second largest without deferrals?
Yes, no deferral. Like, they didn't even defer money, which is crazy. And you're right, I mean, their agent, or his agent, and all the talk about the Yankees and the Red Sox, he played them like a fiddle. And he got everything he wanted. But I think you got to give him some credit where he did consistently say, I want to be in Toronto. Now, you're going to have to pay me to be here, but I want to be here. And eventually they gave him his number and he signed it. So he's here. And I think it was something they had to do. It's not my money. It's a lot of money. It's a big commitment. But I also think the pressure now shifts to the player. I think prior to this, the pressure was on ownership to do something, front office to do something. Now it's on Vladdy, because you've got an opportunity here to play your whole life in one market. You have the chance to be Mr. Blue Jay. I think he has the chance to be Mr. Toronto Sports, which is very rare for a non-Maple Leaf to have that opportunity, because he could be here for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to own every record. He's going to, obviously his number is going to be retired. You might as well start doing that right now. Like, if he plays for 14 more years after this one, he's got to win. He's got to have individual success, but it's right there on a platter for him to absolutely own this marketplace for the rest of his life. And he's well compensated to do it, but now I think the pressure's on Vladdy. Like, you got to snap out of it now. You got to start playing, and you got to be a legit superstar for the next decade.
When you play in a market like this and you sign a ticket like that, every single lollygag play will be just like, every commentator will be like, imagine making $500 million and having an effort play like that. Like, every time he falls asleep at first base, stupid play, caught sleeping at second base in a playoff game, like, that will come up saying, for that kind of money you make, like, he's under the gun now. So hopefully it kind of just puts him in a position where the consistency improves, where it's a day-to-day performance where you're like, that's a guy that deserves that. No, nobody really deserves that kind of money, but earns that paycheck on a day-to-day basis, because you'll just get roasted, man, if you have lollygag plays.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Yeah, now the number, it's so bold, it's attached to. I mean, this year he's making a fortune. Like, he's getting paid more money than any Blue Jay ever, any Maple Leaf ever. Again, the Raptors and the NBA are a little bit different, but I think if you're a Blue Jay fan, you're excited. Vladdy, listen, he's a big personality. He's a guy that's put up numbers. He's a guy that wants to be here. The dollar amount is what it is. That's for ownership to figure out. And it's imperative that they don't hold it against the front office in the future in terms of team building. Can't say, well, we can't give you that because you wanted Vladdy. Again, I think the owner is the one that pushed this over the line. And now it's on Vladdy to go out there and do what he can and play. And here's the thing about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and we talk about, body type and positional play, and does he fall asleep at times? All of these things are legitimate questions moving forward.
This plays guy, every day.
He's a baseball freak. Yeah. And Vladdy is a baseball freak. You got to pull him off the field. And I would invest in that mentality over the opposite guy every day of the week. Like, how often, do we rant and rave? Oh, this guy doesn't want to play. Oh, a little banged up. Oh, the sniffles, can't go. Vladdy
what about the dude
plays.
that signed with the Angels a couple years ago, Rendon?
Rendon. He showed up at spring training and said, I don't really like playing baseball anymore.
He said, it's like the third best thing I do, and I just don't know if I'm going to keep it. It's been an embarrassment since he signed that contract.
Total embarrassment. So, you got to appreciate, I think, that, yes, he got paid a lot, but Vladdy, he committed, and now it's on him to go out there and put up or shut up, and it starts tonight at Fenway. Like, now you're coming off a weekend like that. You got swept by the Mets. The bats have been asleep. He's got to be a leader for this team. He's got to show up. And I'm curious to see how he looks post-contract, because it is life-changing, man. It's generational wealth. $500 million for the next 14 years after this one. Crazy.
Yeah. I know
it's crazy.
I guess what we're saying is, I know you're saying the pressure shifts to Vladdy, and it does, obviously. But it also shifts to the front office, right? Because now you're on the clock.
Now you got to win.
You have a long clock.
Yeah.
But I guess you don't have a long clock.
Those guys aren't going to be here throughout his tenure as a Blue Jay. Like Ross, even if Ross and Mark get it back on the rails and they win a lot and they're here for the next 5-6 years, they're not here for 15 more years.
What do you think is most likely in 5 years? What has happened?
From a team standpoint?
Has the team won anything?
How can you answer that question?
I don't know.
Like
this is
they're
part
not
of this. That should be baked.
I don't have that. I don't have
like,
that.
This team
Okay.
set up?
How do you think the Kansas City Royals will win in the next 5 years?
I mean, they've been better as an organization.
Have they?
Late a little, yeah.
Have
last year they were.
They were a playoff team last year. Yeah, good for them. Do you think they're going to win a World Series in the next 5 years? Like outside of the Dodgers, who can answer that question definitively? Yeah. Like the Yankees don't win every 5 years. The Mets haven't won. Mets haven't won in forever.
Fair.
Since '86.
Braves, you can throw the Braves in there.
Yeah, the Braves come and go.
No, they've been pretty good for a while now.
This year, disaster.
Since a certain general manager got there, they've been pretty good.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm not sitting here guaranteed. This doesn't change. He's already on the team. He didn't just sign as a free agent.
Yeah,
and you're right. Instead of bickering back and forth, let's just summarize it at this. They made the choice that having this guy a part of the fold is going to give them a chance to win as a part of moving off of him, trying to find the next Vladdy Guerrero Jr. in the mix 5 to 10 years down the road.
Absolutely.
That's the decision they made, and we're going to find out in the next 10 years if it was worth the risk.
100%.
Because there's heavy risk involved in any deal, and there certainly is with this one and the number attached to it.
And with his age, I still think there can be ebbs and flows in terms of where they're going. You know, if you got to retool for a couple of years, okay.
Yeah, but really based on his age, it's the next 5 years is his prime, right?
Ideally, yes. But
so I guess that's where I'm a little skeptical is I just don't see what the next 5 years look like. But it's like the other choice is just to not have him. I don't care.
Yeah, it's very simple.
$500 million. They could spend $1 billion.
Money.
I don't care.
Their money, and there's no salary cap.
Yeah.
Right. All right, Joe Beninati will join us, the longtime voice of the Washington Capitals. You just knew Ovechkin was going to score tomorrow or yesterday.
Incredible.
Like you knew he was going to score, and like we had the debate and the discussion about the idea that he didn't want to be on the ice when it was an empty net. He had that opportunity on the Friday night, and I remember thinking when I heard that, and Carberry was the one. Spencer Carberry, I think, originally said it on a radio interview a couple weeks ago, like. Ovi's made the call. He doesn't want to do it on an empty net.
I know, but some risk in that, though. Like,
Big
what
time.
if you go on a slide?
That's my thought. Like, what confidence this guy has at 39 to say, I don't even care about an empty netter. I'm going to score on a live goalie. And he does it. And he does it in that fashion. Off wing, top of the circle. I mean, that is as much his office as Gretzky's office was behind the net. Like, his name should be at the top of that circle, basically on every rink throughout the league. He owns it, and he has since he walked into the league.
Yeah. Didn't
Just
they
incredible
put like
to see.
99 behind the net when Gretzky retired for the year after? Mm-hmm. When Ovi retires, put 8 on the top of the dots.
Yes.
Like, do it.
Definitely, because it was a perfect way for him to do it. The celebration was incredible. Credit to Gretzky for traveling. I'm sure he's ecstatic.
But that's
he did
the thing.
it quickly.
That's the level of the greatness. Like, to just wrap it up that quickly. Imagine having Gretz and Bettman travel around for the next 6 or 7 games to see if he can do this. He got 2 in Washington, almost had the hat trick, and then he just does it the next game in New York. Like, what an incredible feat.
Yeah,
man.
like no doubt. Like you just knew it, man. Like this guy. What has he scored in 5 straight games, 6 straight games? And he's on such a heater right now. The guy, he might chase 50 this year. He may get there.
39.
At 39 years old. And that goal it's just a perfect encapsulation of who he is and what he's done since he walked into the league. He's just so dominant.
It's crazy how good and how long he's been good for. It made me think about my life. I played against that man for 1 year, okay? I retired. I moved to Florida for 2 years. I came back. I got a job as a broadcaster that's now 13 years in length. And through that whole time, this guy's been crushing Subway sandwiches and ripping home goals, and now he has the most of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I had 3 kids. My oldest is now 16 years old. Through that whole time, this guy never stopped scoring goals.
It's incredible, man.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah. And I think it was Malkin who said this guy is not your standard modern athlete. Like, he doesn't really work out, and he drinks beers after the game.
And dude, usually when guys do that, their timeline ends quicker than most guys. Guys who don't take the Gary Roberts approach to fitness and all that other stuff, by 31, even earlier sometimes, they could be done. Because the game just catches up when they don't keep ripping home goals. Their production drops off, and somebody looks at them and says, you're just not good enough, whatever, to stay in this league. But even all the guys he's shaking hands with, his teammates at center ice in Washington, he's probably older than all of them that he shook hands with.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like, even when
and
you
he's
look
still
at him,
standing.
he's still standing. if you look at him, like when he's kind of waiting for the play to catch up to him in the neutral zone and he's standing by the boards, his pant lace is undone. Like his pants aren't even done up. If you go back, Joe, and you go to the original shot where he's just kind of standing, I don't know if we can have that, but you can see it. Like this guy might have suspenders on, which is like an old school hockey move.
Dude, he's just an old school, like just absolute stud. Like, I don't know. I remember watching like the Viz when they first started showing guys walk into the rink. His shirt was unbuttoned. His tie was barely done up. It was like a grubby dress shirt.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is just old school, man. And usually old school doesn't last like that, but it did. And I got to say one thing. I was happy to see Wayne Gretzky being celebrated for the class act that he is and for the legend that he is at center ice, because I think some of the attacks on that guy have been absolutely insane. So I was happy for 99 to be celebrated like that at center ice because he deserves it more than anybody.
Yeah, he was very, very classy throughout. Like talking before, talking afterwards. I think his wife Janet was with him. Like she was crying when the record broke, and I would think that she was crying for Wayne because now that record's gone.
And it was crazy. Some of the people claiming to boycott watching it because Gretzky was involved and Ovechkin. It was just like, you're watching it, so stop trying to act like a hero on Twitter, saying this I can't do this, and it's just crazy stuff. So
well,
I'm glad that Wayne Gretzky was celebrated the way he was.
Yeah, he was front and center, and listen, he owns basically everything, and that's the amazing thing about watching it happen. Whenever these type of records are up for grabs and being chased, it's incredible theater. It's so unique to sport. Whether it was Bonds chasing down Hank Aaron, whether it's Ovechkin, whether it's an individual season like Judge trying to get to 62 home runs, whatever it is, it just brings people together in a way that is very, very unique to sport, and I hope it can happen more in the future. But the idea that someone could ever catch Gretzky, like as a kid, a Canadian kid, you're just taught, like I grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, nobody touches Gretzky's records. Like, don't talk about it. Don't discuss it. It's stupid to even contemplate because it can't happen. And this guy's done it. Like, it's amazing that he did it in the fashion he did it in. Joe Beninati will join us. He was in the building with the call. He's called basically all of Ovechkin's goals throughout his career. Get his take on the whole experience. We'll get into the Leafs. They got a big week coming up, right? In Florida tomorrow, in Tampa on Wednesday. Could they be playing the Panthers in the first round instead of the Battle of Ontario? That seems like it's definitely possible. We'll touch on that later in the afternoon, and more on the Vladdy signing the Jays at Fenway starting a series tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Keegan Matheson in half an hour from Fenway. Jays, Sox tonight. Vladdy, pending a physical, will be making $500 million.
What would they have to see to be like, yeah, you know what?
Wouldn't it be so Blue Jays if they found something?
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't pay you that, but we need you to have a big season the rest of the way.
We'll do like 400 after we start.
We're going to adjust our numbers because we found something here. I'm assuming that'll go, swimmingly and everything's going to be all good, but who knows? So, we'll get to Keegan in about a half an hour. The Leafs again with a big week in Florida tomorrow, Tampa on Wednesday. Let's hear the call last night. This one is one we were all anticipating. Joe Beninati's been calling the Caps games forever. And, it was right, obviously, that he's in the building. It's a divisional rival. It's a big game for the Islanders. They end up winning the game. But after tying the record on the Friday night, Ovi and the Caps roll into Long Island. And this is what we heard and we saw in the second period yesterday.
Send in Wilson on the flank. Cross ice. Ovechkin fires. Score! The chasing days are done! Alex Ovechkin is the greatest goal scorer in the history of the NHL.
That was awesome, courtesy of the Monumental Sports Network. Here he is, the voice of the Capitals, Joe Beninati, joining us. Joe, where does that call rank for you in terms of all-time great calls?
Geez, it's way up there. By the way, Overdrive would be a great title for Ovechkin's autobiography.
Yes.
I'm still shaking, guys. The last 3 or 4 days, Friday night I thought was exceptional. It was the closest thing you can get to Stanley Cup final fever pitch, and without the aggravation, without the apprehension. Everybody was there for a party, and Ovechkin scores .893 in the first 5 minutes of the game, and it was the most amazingly positive type vibe that you could ever imagine. And then to see him have .894 in front of the Great One, in front of all the dignitaries that were there, and have multiple chances to break the record that night. It's just an example of the roller coaster ride that he's had us on for 20 years. And to do what he did yesterday with so many Caps fans in attendance, and a true tip of the cap to everybody with the Islander organization and the Islander fans. They understood what was happening, and they saw the right moment to recognize true greatness. I still shake my head. I never thought he could get to .895. I started to think about it maybe when he got to 500 so quickly and showed no signs of stopping, but 895 goals is really hard to get your head around.
So every great broadcaster gets asked this, Joe, so it's your turn. You had great calls for .893 and 4, and then the last one, .895. Is that something you had jotted down somewhere, or did you just let it fly and it came off the top of your head?
There was an interview, guys, that was done with Craig Laughlin and me in between periods. Rachel Nichols does a show called Hometown here in the D.C. area. She comes in with her camera crew. So what are you going to say if he gets it in this period? And Locker and I had not talked about it. I mentioned to her, it has to do with something with the chase. Everything was about the chase this last month. The chase coming to an end. The conclusion of a chase. And I started noodling it, honestly, early in the second period. When they had the power play chance, it came to me, chasing days are done. I like a little bit of alliteration, and that's what we went with. And you just cross your fingers the whole time. It's been nerve-wracking for all of us connected to Monumental. Anybody who's covered this guy, as the milestones add up, yes, we're rehearsed, we're practiced in this. We've seen him do it at 500, 600, 700. We've been lucky enough to call those. But those are nerve-wracking times. You enter the building with your senses heightened. And I had the feeling that something great was going to happen. Chasing days done was in my mind. And then you just have to give him the credit that he deserves as the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. And then you get out of the way and let the directors, this is a TV medium, let the directors cut all the reaction shots. And that's when you start to get emotional about it. But for me, I didn't tell Locker about it until early in the second period, and I just, you hope that the goal is clean, that it doesn't go in off of his head, that there's no goalie interference, that there's no offside challenge.
Oh man, I never thought of that, Joe. The goalie interference,
it is nerve-wracking.
The goalie interference possibility would have been just catastrophic, man.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh.
But thankfully and luckily, everything was meant to be, because 93, 94, 95 were all good, visible, great type Alex Ovechkin goals. The toughest one in the run was .890, the deflection he had against Buffalo. But Alex does such a great job of selling that, and I thanked him for it after the game. He when he gets it, he gives the kiss to his late brother, Sergei. He does the bended knee. He'll do the glass jump. Yesterday, obviously, you saw what he did, but thankfully, he sold that one. That was the toughest one in this last 5 run-up to .895.
We're chatting with Joe Beninati, the voice of the Capitals, on Alex Ovechkin hitting .895 yesterday in Long Island. You referenced once he hit 500, you thought, okay, that was quick. Maybe .895 is possibly within sight. For me, it was when he started chasing Gordie Howe down, like .802. I thought, oh, wow, this guy's going to have Gretzky in his sights, which always felt like an impossibility. I'm curious how, you have felt Ovechkin has handled this, because, all he knows is DC, all he knows is the Caps. He's been the captain there forever, but English is his second language. It's pretty incredible how comfortable he seems to be in terms of handling media now and speaking with the media compared to, when he was drafted 18, 19 years old. How has he kind of handled the spotlight, something he's very familiar with, but this is a unique kind of chase that I'm sure the whole marketplace and the whole fan base has been jumping on board with. What have you made of kind of his body language and his approach the last 2 or 3 months?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking it. And I was sort of conditioned to the response when I did an interview recently with Cal Ripken, Iron Man in baseball, 21-31, which was passed 30 years ago in 1995. And I said, Cal, you had the media crush, all the press conferences and availabilities, radio and TV and print. Alex is going through the same procedures now. Everybody wants a piece. This was all inclusive. This was consuming for the team, his teammates, for Alex. And I thought the communication staff for the Capitals did a great job of, at times, if they had to insulate Alex, they could. But he is such a front man and has always been. He loves that spotlight. And yes, he still will shy away on occasions due to what he feels like is not the greatest command of the English language. But honestly, the more people that are in the room, the better he gets. It's more difficult for him when it's one-on-one with just a camera and a turnaround monitor. That's when he gets self-conscious. When he's surrounded by people, he loves it. And I'm thrilled with the way he responded yesterday in his speech afterwards. And for me, I think the perception has changed, and it did when he got it across the finish line, when the team as an organization became a champion in 2018. I think the perception of Alex changed, and it wasn't just from jumping in the fountains and having a blast like he did all summer. I think there's been a humility there, and one of the great things in our business is we get to meet these guys at 20 years old, and now Alex is pushing 40 and has 2 children. You see the maturity. You see the humility. Last week, or within the last 10 days, the game in St. Paul where he brought the guys back out of the dressing room to congratulate Marc-Andre Fleury. Those are the kinds of things now that I want people to know. That's the kind of Alex Ovechkin that I've seen and known for the longest of times. And I think the perception started to change once he became a legitimate Stanley Cup champion with his teammates. Everybody knew about all the individual accolades, and they continue to add up, and 900 goals is on the horizon. But more than anything, what Alex wants is 2, and that's 2 Stanley Cups.
Well, and this is maybe his best chance since 2018 with how well this team's been playing. And I guess we'll get you out of here with that question, Joe. Like, now that the dust is settled, what would you expect? How do you think Ovechkin plays the rest of this season into the playoffs? And how does the team possibly build off this going into the playoffs where they're going to be the number 1 seed in the East?
Guys, he's on a ridiculous heater, and he's 39 years of age. If he doesn't break his leg in November, doesn't miss 16 games, he might have been right there with Draisaitl again for another Rocket Richard. That's what makes this so incredible. But they put together, they being Brian McClellan and Chris Patrick, president and GM in the offseason, in Brian's words, they were able to thread the needle. They were able to keep the Caps extremely competitive as Alex Ovechkin was approaching an all-time great milestone. And they've had a phenomenal season, and a lot of that has to do with the coaching staff. And I think almost assuredly Spencer Carberry will be the coach of the year in the NHL. I expect them to play better than they've been playing of late. Let's be honest. They haven't been good lately. I think a lot of the guys have been consumed with getting Alex this incredible milestone, and now it's back to winning. What worries me all of a sudden is a Logan Thompson injury, an Alexei Protas injury. All season long, you don't get to 49 wins as fast as they did and 107 points, et cetera, without being healthy. They've been really healthy all throughout, and now these injuries are cropping up. That's part of the game. Nobody's going to give them a pity party. I think they're a legitimate candidate. I know the betting public really considers the Western teams as the better ones and the ones that have the best chances, but I just look at that Atlantic Division with Toronto and Florida and Tampa and know that should Washington get to a third round, that would be an incredibly intense matchup. But they're going to have a difficult matchup getting out of the first round if it's Montreal, the second round if it's Carolina. Nothing's easy. You guys know that. It's the hardest tournament to win in sports, but I think they're in a good place, and I know they want to play better in these last 5 games.
Joe, just quickly before we do actually get you out of here, I just wanted to touch on your partner being involved yesterday. How special was it to have Locker, who experienced his own health issues, for him to get back in time to witness all that stuff? It must have been pretty awesome for you and him to share that together.
Oh, Brian, Jeff, Jonas. I mean, yeah, there were times, without a doubt, on Friday especially, where I was tearing up. Alan May did a wonderful job subbing in for Locker. Craig had open heart surgery in early February. And just like any ex-athlete, he's setting target dates. I want to be back on March 30. I'm like, Craig, this isn't a sprained ankle. This isn't a twisted knee. But when you know it, he's special enough to do it. And the doctor care and the cardiac team that took care of him was just phenomenal to get him back this way. And there's a line, there's a spell during a recent broadcast where I could see Blocker saying to Ovi, hey, wait for me. And yesterday, after the game, well after the post-game show, we go downstairs and the party is still going and the press conferences are still going. And what makes me tear up the most is the bear hug that Ovechkin gave Locker in the hallway outside of the team room. That's what this is all about, and that's what he's all about. I just think that shows you what kind of a leader he can be and how important the people around him are. Every time the cutaway shots to mom and wife and the children, and I just couldn't help but wish that his dad, Mikhail, could have been there to see that. And I hope he's watching from heaven as to see his son achieve what is maybe a number that we will never see broken. I know we said that when Gretzky did it 30-some-odd years ago. This one is spectacular, and you guys in Toronto have a player who might approach it if he stays healthy and if he has the desire to play that long in Austin. All of those guys, Matthews and Draisaitl, on and on and on. The game is in such great shape, but Ovechkin set a standard here. In terms of goals, it's going to be hard to reach.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that, man. It is a big gap between him and whoever is chasing him now. It's pretty incredible what we just witnessed. Enjoy the rest of the season and into the future, Joe. Really appreciate you doing this today.
Fellas, my pleasure. Anytime. Thank you.
You got it. Joe Beninati joining us, Capitals play-by-play announcer. And Matthews was kind of uncomfortable with the idea of his name being launched into the pursuit of Ovechkin's record. It is pretty fresh. I mean,
that's so 2025. The very next day. What do you think of your chances?
You think you can catch the guy?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that crazy.
But John, I've been saying for the last 2 years, like how people are just fascinated with GOAT this and who's the. In the States, there's a GOAT debate in the NBA every single day. By the way, we got to touch on the NBA, how embarrassing that's getting, because it is outrageous, man. But right the next day, Matthews, you going to be the next guy? Who's the next guy? That's just like it's like the dating game.
No,
the
but
next
you're not,
one.
it's not like you're asking. It's not like you're asking player X. You're asking, like, if you look at right now through this number of games.
All right, let it breathe a little bit before you even bring it up.
All right.
A week. Give it a week.
But then it's not topical. Then you can't.
I know.
It's by the way, I get it, but you know he's not. I don't know. I'm conflicted on it because I get that you're going to ask it. He's never going to give you an answer. He's
like the one guy you could look at and be like, that guy.
Yes.
Theoretically,
Draisaitl could, maybe Pasternak. Like, there's three guys that maybe in this era could possibly touch up against it, but it's so fresh.
Yeah, and when you think about like the longevity, the production, and health, it seems unrealistic to think either one of them.
He's got to do it. Like, Matthews got to do this for another 10 or 11 years.
He has to basically average 50 a year for 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Just to get 500, and how many more goals is Ovechkin going to score?
Well, that's it. If he keeps playing another year or two, why would he not score 40 next year?
Right.
Like, why wouldn't he do that?
So then add another 50-goal year.
Exactly. All right, Keegan Matheson in 15 minutes. More on the Leafs and their trip through Florida starting tomorrow night coming up as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Keegan Matheson coming up into the 5 p.m. hour from Fenway ahead of Jays Red Sox on Vladdy signing $500 million, 14-year deal with the Blue Jays. That's just to hear that number is
just say
insane.
$500 million.
$500 million. It's probably lands better too, right? And it really hammers it home what kind of cash we're talking about here. Al's brother will be in here tomorrow. He is going to reveal his Masters Champions Dinner power rankings and the ultimate venue. So if Al's brother ever got himself a green jacket and got into that dinner, this is what he would provide the boys. So that's coming up tomorrow. I saw Al's brother earlier.
I can't even imagine what kind of groceries he would put in front of those guys.
Yeah. You got to tune in
like him
tomorrow.
leaning down, putting a plate down and saying, Tiger, Scotty Scheffler, enjoy.
Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Player, here you go. All right, this is the final week to find Al's brother for a chance to win Leaf tickets. And we're doing something a little different this week. Al's brother is going to be at a new location each day, so you'll need to name all 4 locations on Friday in order to win. New rules for the final week. Let's hear Al's brother's first location of the week.
Howdy, fans. It's Monday, and it's our final week to give away some Leaf tickets. We're giving away Leafs and Detroit tickets for the season finale on April 17th. You got to find out where I'm hiding all week long. Here is your Monday clue. I'm at a popular Toronto park at a legendary OverDrive location, and there's a good chance there's a large bag with 500 schmil laying around somewhere here for one Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and you know exactly what I mean.
Okay, I like it. Very smooth, Al's brother. Find Al's brother, brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora. Our family, the Ford family, and you. There's the first clue of the week, or the first location. There'll be another one tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. Final tickets of the year, Leafs, Red Wings, April 17th. Hour 2 coming up on the Leafs. Could they play Florida, Ottawa? Who are they going to play in the first round? We'll get to that. Keegan Matheson coming up as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.